sana. By the way, this is a show that I thought is something that is good. It's been good to see.
Yes.
In ages. Karibu sana.
Okay, thank
Merci
you.
beaucoup. Yeah, just have a seat. Yeah. You know, Siobhan, the last time I saw you was long ago.
It is. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Right. Right, you're right on time for the summit, coming to you live from Rwanda Television, right here in Rwanda's capital, Kigali. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. We're coming to you at a time that the country is actually experiencing a very dark moment. We know that there's been a lot of follow-up and a lot of rescue operations that have been happening across parts of the country. And I'm going to start off with the latest that we know in terms of the floods that have been actually ravaging parts of the country. We know that over 100 have actually lost their lives. And of course, we understand that the deaths have been triggered by the floods. The floods have actually been triggered by the heavy rains that have actually been ongoing. And of course, we've seen a lot of mudslides also in parts of the country. Flood waters are still rising in northern and western provinces, and there are fears that the death toll may rise. And of course, the hope is that this doesn't actually occur. We also know that this could definitely be one of the highest disaster-induced death toll that has been recorded in the country in the shortest period in terms of the number of deaths that have occurred over the past 2 days or so. Most of the deaths occurring are actually taking place in the western province, which borders Lake Kivu. The flood waters have swept away homes, and of course infrastructure has also been affected. But what we also know is that the security apparatus and those involved in the exercise of trying to salvage the situation are busy working hard to be able to sort out the issues right there. What we also know is that the ministry in charge of emergency management has been able to issue a statement on this. We know that the minister in charge has actually said that relief efforts began immediately, including helping to bury the victims of the disaster and providing supplies to those whose homes were destroyed. And of course, the Honorable Minister is calling on residents in affected areas to increase patrols, especially at night, so that people could be moved to safer ground when it rained heavily. What we also know is that the head of state, President Paul Kagame himself, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, earlier on today did share a message to the nation on his Twitter handle, and I'll quote what he did say. He said, "My deepest condolences to the families and loved ones of the victims of the landslides and floods that occurred last night in western, northern and southern provinces. We are doing everything within our means to address this difficult situation." And I want to underline the part that has elicited reactions and have brought some level of hope among the citizens is that part where the head of state is saying, "I am personally following up the response closely." We'll keep an eye on the issues that are happening as far as these floods and the raging devastation that it is bringing with it as far as it is concerned in our subsequent bulletins right here on Rwanda Television. Now, I want to introduce our panelists tonight. We are actually talking about a very important issue that, of course, could also offer solutions to, tracking and giving early warning signs when it comes to disaster management. We're looking at the issue of leveraging on the power of artificial intelligence. And we all know that AI is here with us, but what we're going to be talking about tonight is how do we make it work for us? I want to introduce my panelists. I'm sure you've seen them as we walked into the studio, but I want to start off by introducing Alain Naishimie, who's the project lead for AI and ML at the Center for Industrial Revolution right here in Rwanda. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Also with us is none other than Dr. Shivon Vyamukama, who's the Managing Director of the Babel Health Rwanda. Thank you for making time.
Thank you.
It's a reunion, Shivon.
Yes, it is.
Yeah?
Yes, it is.
Also with us is Jean Niotwajira, who is actually the founder and CEO of, you pronounce it as Tokwa or Tok?
Turkey.
Turkey.
It's French.
Thank you very much for that. Of course, we need to make sure that we say it as it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we want to start off with on the note of what I just opened the show with, the disasters in the major parts of the country. Just real quick, maybe starting with you, Alain, what do you read from, what has happened I'm sure you've been following, you've been seeing, and also as a Rwandan yourself, you probably there are things that touch deep in your heart as far as these disasters are concerned. What would that be?
Yeah, first of all, let me take this opportunity to say that my thoughts and prayers are with the families and individuals affected with this tragedy. So I think it's unfortunate that it has happened, but I believe as we get closer to this new era of digital solutions, I think we can see possibilities of avoiding such things to happen. You started off the show by mentioning early prediction systems, early warning systems, and I think this is the right time that we start having this conversation of how can we take advantage of such technologies as AI, as data, about mining techniques, just to understand the patterns within changes within climate itself, and all the other things that we can mitigate ahead of time. So for me personally, this is something that is touching me in very different places. First of all, given that I have origins in those areas that have been affected, but also being somebody that is in the field, I think this is an opportunity for me to also start thinking of solutions and things that I can do around leveraging technology to mitigate some of these things from happening.
But Alain, I mean, I'm sure I'm going to ask Dr. Shivon and of course Jean as well. This is not the first time that we have experienced heavy rains. This is not the first time that a country is experiencing flooding. This is not the first time that we've lost deaths. One death is already too many to count. What is it that is holding us back in actually putting together early warning systems to avert situations instead of dealing with situations?
I think I can look at it in two sides. First of all, there's a silo of things that are happening here and there. So I don't think there's a harmonization effort to actually understand what these use cases are and some of the benefits that they can bring on giving us an opportunity to mitigate some of these things. So there's a regulatory issue, which is also a concern, that a lot of these technologies, especially technologies that have to do with data, and here specifically I'm talking about personal identifiable data, are usually seen as a threat of some sort due to the nature of the data that we can use to develop some of these technologies. So in looking at it, I think, first of all, we need to have a harmonization effort in really understanding what are some of the solutions that we already have.
Harmonization is the key part.
Yes, harmonization of the ecosystem itself. What are some of the solutions that the ecosystem can provide? And also matching some of these problem statements with some of the solutions that our innovators can put together. And beyond that, can we also have a regulatory environment that tries to balance the regulation itself, but also the innovation to help these things happen. One of the things actually we were pushing at the center was advocating for sandbox environment through which you can test these solutions in a live environment. And here, this gives us the possibility to understand the opportunities within the technology itself, but also try to understand the risks and mitigate them as we put some of these instruments together.
Interesting. Dr. Shivon, I mean, I would also love to hear your thoughts on this. As you use AI, which is actually our topic tonight, in terms of the solutions that you've incorporated it in some of the operations, but also from where you sit looking from outside, do you think we are overlooking some of the immediate term problems that we need to actually be putting our minds on and thinking maybe farther away? How is it that we have not been able to look at some of these things to help us leverage on such disasters that we're witnessing today?
So picking from what he said, I think one of the fundamental issues that we find here in Rwanda is not leveraging the data that we have. It's not the first time that we've had these issues.
Correct.
This is a landslide, and there've been others, but there could be possibilities of predicting what potentially could happen, because unfortunately global warming is here. All these environmental issues are here, and AI is one of the areas that can allow us to be able to predict and to be able to see through, to predict some of these things and also find preventative measures moving forward.
But then when you say we are not incorporating or actually leveraging on the available data, who is we?
So first of all, the institutions that be, one. So one of the things we keep talking about, we all seem to understand the importance of data. Everybody understands that. but is this data available? And what is the quality of the data that is available to support decision making? So if you think about the topic we're talking about, like AI.
Yeah.
So AI is almost like everything I know and everything everybody knows on this table and everybody the audience knows that builds into this machine that can be doing to do literally everything, including the situation that we're dealing with. So if we could, so situations like that, you would be able to then predict and say, okay, this is the situation that happens in these places. Can we do preventative ways to do that? And maybe let me give an example in the healthcare, which is the space that I operate in. So we do AI here in Rwanda, but also as a global company in the UK, in the US. So I'll give an example of the US. In the US, they will say Babylon take care of the population of Gasabo district. And when we do that, that means we take care of everyone. We're able to predict today that given the population that we have, given the data that we have of these people, looking at myself or yourself or somebody, we're able to say that it looks like in 1 year's time, this person is going to go down the drain of getting unwell. What can we do today to prevent that from happening?
That is practical. You can do that.
We can do that. So what that means is that for you, the patient, somebody is taking care of you. For the insurer, they're trying to get you to not to be that expensive, and for provider to be able to do preventive, to do preventive analytics with the AI. So if we're doing that with healthcare, that is stuff that we could do with managing disasters like this, because there's ability to do preventative care.
Jean, I want to pick it just from there. I mean, with all this conversation we're talking about and how Rwanda has been able to, adapt a national artificial intelligence policy, the, drive towards information-led, economy and leveraging on the power of IT and, digital things that can inform us of the powerful things that could happen. How is it that we've not been able to, I'm looking first of all from the prevention. How is it that we didn't see this coming? How is it that this has happened in our face, 2023, when in the past we've seen disasters that are related to the heavy rains? What is it that you see?
First of all, I would like to start by saying the news we got in the country this morning was really bad. I had my brother in that part of the country, and I really felt bad when I couldn't reach him on phone. But then the way I felt when he called to tell me, to just inform me of that issue, it reminded me that chatbots can do that. Imagine if we have someone in a group, in a family where actually people are connected in a way that that the communication is powered by AI. It's an example, it's an idea. But I would feel like if the concern that I had, or everyone else in my family or in the trees of families were sharing this concern, perhaps the news would have gone to this person or come from that person faster than that. So also let me jump to what I do. One of the solutions that my company managed to create, which I can see if I wish it was actually working in such a way that we could have prevented the tragedy of today. I work with maybe big businesses, people who can get their goods stolen easily. And we've built tools that can easily detect patterns of a potential thief in your shop, things like that. So now, launching this system took a journey, and I feel like we were a few people who wanted to do that. And the interface that we gave to these people, they did not like it.
Who are these people?
The merchants, the people whom we were actually trying to create solutions for, they were the one actually rejecting it until it became a solution to them. Today we have people who can receive their daily notifications about their business standing every day. And this is something that area, it was something that they did not want until they saw it.
So you feel like the powers that be, the people with the decision making in adapting some of the creative innovations that people like you are coming up with, are probably the ones standing on the way of actually the solution that you could be providing?
That is partly true. But also, let's go back to the innovation community and the startup community.
Yeah.
This is something that it's not really flourishing. How 2010 was, I remember that's when I started my entrepreneurship journey. It was it was really hot. We were rock stars. Then it started dipping. So if that energy of that time was still here today, maybe we would. You'd
be far.
Yes. So the startup community, we are not really giving it that much emphasis. And I'm talking on behalf of many of my fellow, entrepreneurs, whom actually are trying to, they're diverting from their solutions just because they are not raising enough investment to stay on course with their ideas.
Yeah. Siobhan, the president has said he's personally following up this operation. Do you think heads will be rolling? Depending
on where, what is found where, depending. But I think that it's very good that we have a head of state who is really invested in his people. And I think that I'm not very surprised that that's the statement and that's what he's doing, because that's what he does. So I'm sure that they'll get to the bottom of things, and I think that and I think that today, rather than will heads be rolling, I think what will be done in the future, and I think that we are going to see steps to prevent this. I don't think that moments like this, maybe they would, but I think that moments with this would be prevented. So I think that they will be putting together preventative measures moving forward. But I'm really, really excited that he's on top of it. I'm not surprised. I mean,
not surprising.
Yes.
Alain, I mean, from where you see it, from your expertise, today I want us to really link our topic to this particular situation and many other situations, so that we can be able to start seeing the practicality of AI and the solutions to the problems that we see. Alain, if you were in that particular position, that is a decision-making position in fixing this whole scenario or these disaster issues using AI, using technology, what are the things that you'll be doing in office as the Minister of, in charge of disaster preparedness and management?
I think if I can combine everything that we've talked from the beginning of the show, one of the issues is data, like Dr. Siobhan mentioned. So we tend to view data just as an asset for reporting purposes. So we file it, we keep it, and that's about it. But data, as we know, is the new oil. This is the fuel that's driving a lot of these emerging technologies. So we really need to understand and know what kind of data we have, because this is where we're going to derive a lot of these insights and analytics that will help us really understand trends within everything, pretty much. It's going to be cross-cutting, if I'd call it, across all sectors, be it from disaster management to finance to food security and so on. So these are things that we can actually prevent ahead of time. There's models, computer AI models that can read into the future, if I would call it, depending on what kind of data they hold. And what this gives us is an opportunity to start preparing and future-proofing some of the solutions that we're actually putting out there. So back to the question you asked me, I think data should be an agenda. So we should have a national data strategy. And what that means is we need to have our data in the shape and form that is ready to be consumed by these technologies. Because again, it doesn't serve any good having all this information stored, but without the quality that's needed for these machines to actually understand and start making these predictions. So a national data strategy, I think, is something that I would advocate for. And this starts from public sector. If you look at public institutions, they are the number one custodians of a lot of this personal data, even if I'd call it, to the point that they almost feel like they're just there for archiving. But we should now start thinking of how can we actually start using this for policy making? Can we use this for generating products and services? What can we understand within the trends of this information that we hold? So a strategy that harmonizes all the initiatives, not just locally, but also regionally and maybe extended to the global stage, through which we can leverage the power of this information that we hold to build a lot of these tools that will help us understand the future, help us prepare for the future, and also give us an opportunity to test some of these things to see if they actually would work in the sense.
So today, as we speak, with all that is happening, it could be an opportunity for someone with a solution to actually be even testing it as we speak. Is this what you see, Jean? And probably as you answer that question, do you feel that the recent adoption of the National Artificial Intelligence Policy could go a long way in starting to see the significance of what you do as a creator yourself?
Yeah, I am one of the players.
Yes.
I am one of the captains of the industry.
Yeah. So
we need to find a way to get more of the likes of what I am doing. We need to. It's definitely something that that as the innovators are not going to be able to do, but people put together, they are going to start generating this data as let's say, when you look at emerging technologies like ChatGPT, you try to talk to it in Kinyarwanda, and you realize that it doesn't really speak good Kinyarwanda.
Yeah.
So this is our fault.
Yeah.
This is our fault.
Yeah.
Because we did not put content there.
So what are you doing about it?
My creating local solutions is one thing. We need to be sure that systems that are here are created by people from here. Systems that have been put on top are our systems. Because there is a lot of young people who just look up to us and say, Jean did not make it. I will not make it. Let me look for a job. Let me see if I can work abroad. And we are taking this knowledge to someone else who is going to create, to help create these big language models that we are talking about.
Right. Dr. Siobhan, I mean, maybe someone somewhere hasn't yet seen or identified the part where they need now to incorporate, AI in their product strategy. Talk to us a bit how you, as at Babel, at what point did you feel that it is now time to, incorporate AI as part of your product strategy?
Yeah. So before, I just wanted to add on something that he had said.
Yeah.
On putting information into the, in the AI chatbot, one of the things to be really careful about is that if you don't engage, then you're going to experience biases in AI, because AI is a machine that just learns on what it has, on the data it has. And if you get if your data is not there, then it's going to be biased against you. So that means that you're going to be limited in terms of what you can use. We already know that, for example, women, and this is just generally about bias. For example, if women are more likely not to be diagnosed with a heart attack than men, because of that bias, because they didn't look at the specificity of that. So they look at what a typical man diagnosis would be, and then that's not how it manifests in a woman. So in Rwanda, we started our AI here in Rwanda in 2021, I think that's when we introduced it in our call center. And what this has, and one of the exciting things that we've done is that I think it's one of the few places that there's a third-party interaction. Because if you see that majority of our people don't have smartphones. Yeah. So we use AI in all our operations across the world. And our first journey through using our services is you go through your AI, your symptom checker, you finalize, then you book an appointment. But at least you have interacted with the AI, which has also informed you of what you're potentially suffering from. So in Rwanda, because majority of the population don't have smartphones, so we're still using it in our call center, where 20% of our calls are done through AI. And what that has done for us, it has created consistency across the board. So if you're calling in about the headache, then it will take you through a rabbit hole of what the headache is and leading to that. But whether it is me or you or this other doctor, there will be consistency. And what that means, and at least the feedback that we're getting is, it's in depth. The quality of the clinical notes, the quality of the patient record is much better with the AI.
Yeah.
That's what we've done in the whole center. We're testing that even in our health centers at the moment.
Yeah.
In our health centers, one of the things, and it's in Rwanda, by the way. So that's the thing we're talking about, is making it contextual for you. So the epidemiological, I always confuse that word, epidemiological testing of that is contextual. It's also in Kinyarwanda. And what we're doing is that we're actually giving tablets to abaturage at the health center to sort of like work with it, play with it. And at the end of it, it produces a small receipt which you take into your consultation room. You hand it over to your nurse or the clinician that is you're working with. And while she does her consultation, she also has this piece of paper and then will say, yeah, actually I would have come up with this, or I wouldn't have asked this question. But it really then supports them in the decision making. And what is that doing? Improving the quality of healthcare. Now, AI generally will improve quality of healthcare. As I said, imagine something that just has all the knowledge that there is into one place. So that means that the quality of diagnosis, the quality is all there. So that's why AI is very critical, especially in the health sector space.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to come back to Alain, but I'll come to probe that statement, Dr. Shivon, in the next round of questioning. But Alain, maybe the president is busy following up right now on the ongoing situations. He must have probably missed on why or how you would perform better as the minister in charge of handling disaster. So I'm going to ask you now in your own capacity. You've talked about the need for a data strategy in actually fixing some of these problems like we've seen today. What is it that is stopping you today at the center? Or what are you doing today at the Center for Industrial Revolution, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, to try and fix this problem before you get this appointment?
Okay, thank you. That's an interesting one. So maybe just notably, something I can highlight is the new data protection law.
Yeah.
This sets ground for the data policy actually to happen. So we were really concerned on how data is stored, how data is managed, and who gets to process it. But here we're referring to personal data in this context. So the first thing we had to look at is how do we actually have an instrument that can provide the privacy and security needed for personal data, so that even if it's being consumed by these technologies, it's done in a trustworthy way. So how do you trust this technology actually to consume this data? So we work with government, we work with academia, we work with policymakers, we work with through a multi-stakeholder approach in problem solving, where we identify gaps in policy, in regulation that might affect adoption of these technologies, and prescribed tools and instruments that can advance a lot of these things that we're talking about. So we help codefine, we redefine, we test, and we also publish some of these instruments with our partners, just to make sure that we give room for innovation to happen, but also mitigate any potential risk associated with technologies. Yeah. So the first step, we thought of a national AI data policy of some sort to regulate the usage of data, personal data here. But we went further also and also introduced the National Air Policy, which was approved a couple of weeks ago, that we kept on referring to. And what this does, it gives us an opportunity to see in the short term, in the medium term, in the long term, what are some of the things we can have in place as Rwanda that can help us achieve some of this economic and social transformation that we talk about.
Yeah, just like a 2-year-old, let's assume I'm just like a 2-year-old, but very interested in AI stuff. Explain to me how this policy is going to actually encourage or make me feel safer, working with AI as a person within the AI ecosystem, but also as a consumer, as a local Rwandan.
Yes, so one of the key highlights of this policy is actually the ethics behind the development and adoption of these technologies. So the new AI policy prescribes a set of rules that people who are within the fields of AI can use to develop and also adapt these technologies. Maybe to highlight some of these things, one of it is you need to develop, if you're developing an AI solution, it has to do good. What this means is that we're taking into consideration of products and services that benefit humanity. We're talking about transparency. Are these systems built in a way that you can actually explain what they're doing at the end of the day? Because that's actually one of the biggest fields within AI, explainable AI. Can you explain what the machine is doing at the end of the day? Why did it make this decision? Did you make this? Why did it give you this result? And beyond that, we're talking about accountability. Once things go wrong, Dr. Siobhan alluded to the fact that ethics is part of their DNA. Things in the AI and things such as healthcare, if you're deploying this system, we're talking about life and death situation. You have to guarantee that at least there's a level of comfort that you can give this machine to give you the advice that's needed to perform some of these things. And what this means is that, again, these systems have to be explainable. They have to be a sort of accountability system through which when things go wrong, you have somebody that you can blame. Even beyond that, we're looking at things such as the moral and virtues that these systems are built with. Because again, back to the point that was raised earlier, a lot of this data is collected through various means. It has a lot of biases. It has a lot of historical, I would say, dirt. Let me use the word dirt on it, that needs to be cleaned before it can be deployed to the real world. And one of the biggest fears actually we're seeing, especially giving an example, somebody mentioned generative AI systems such as ChatGPT. It has been trained on this data that's online, and we all know that there's a lot of misinformation that's out there, and even disinformation of some sort that people on this platform generate. So imagine a system that's trained on information that's inaccurate and is giving you information that you need to act on in a life and death situation. What does that mean at the end of the day? So we really need to be careful in how we are building these systems. And I think the key here is trust. How do you build trustworthy AI platforms? And the new AI policy actually gives you an opportunity to really understand what those are through the principles, ethics principles that have been prescribed.
Right. This 2-year-old is flabbergasted, but he's getting it. Dr. Siobhan,
yes.
Before I go to Jean over there, I'm sure there's been a lot of stuff that need to be demystified around AI. Some of us saw these things in the movies, some of us heard about them and we never knew we'd live to see them. Some of us are saying we're now in the era of the bots, of the robots. Even before we started the show, when we started introduction, one of you here said, I'm a bot. Let's talk about what needs to be demystified if the people watching us today can be able to start trusting these processes, especially even the area of job losses. You are the one here on this show who mentioned having all the information you need in one particular system that can actually feed with all this information, do all these things for you. That can't be a human being. But that human being, or many human beings, could have done that, meaning more jobs for them. How do you demystify the area of loss of jobs, trust of this data that is here? Talk to us a bit about that.
Okay, so one thing we need to know is that AI has been here. It is here. I remember I was in Japan 2019, I think, and then we went to this car manufacturing, I think for Mitsubishi. And looking at all these machines that were doing a lot of the work, only 10% of the work is actually done by human beings. So a lot of jobs, yes, can be lost, but a lot more can be gained. So there are lots of jobs that, yes, the AI can do, right? But, and that creates efficiencies. So if it creates efficiencies, it creates, well, profitability for the company, because then you can produce and produce more. And for countries like ours, we get to leapfrog into the future, right? So I think that is very critical. So yes, some jobs might be lost, yes, but some jobs might be gained, and very important jobs. We will have AI engineers, we'll have data miners, so the quality of the jobs will improve, and more jobs will be created. So it's almost like how when the internet came and there was all that fear, because, you know, some people were the authority and the owners of information,
Yeah.
and people were nervous about it being democratized,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And guess what we are? Where we are today, we almost can't do without it. So it is here. So I think one of the things that we need to be, I think one of the other things that people get terrified about is that, oh my God, my data is going to be taken.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of that, I mean, for AI to work, it needs a lot of data, quality data. But we need, as you're talking about, ethical principles. We need to have guidelines. We need to be able to have regulation around it. And what that will do is that even for entrepreneurs such as my colleague, and we're able to play and say, what are the rules? You know, we want to innovate, we want to work together, but what are the rules? What are the guiding principles? So regulation is very important. And also to just be, you know, and actually we did, you know, as an example, we did a project with the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution when we were introducing our AI,
Yeah.
and we were looking at things like safety at the point of development and at the place of transparency. We are looking at accountability and AI. And also to just say, investors have invested so much into AI. You don't want to cut corners. In healthcare, you just want to play by the rules, but can we have the rules?
Yeah.
Right? And then play by those rules. And so I guess that I'm just, all I'm saying is that it is good for us.
It's good for disadvantages, but
Yes.
more of it you're saying is going to be advantageous. You know,
Yes.
the other part which is very critical is where Dr. Shivon says, yes, we have jobs that will be lost, but then more jobs can be created
Yes.
from AI-led, solutions. How do we ensure that we're not leaving anyone behind, especially when we are aware that very few people even understand the whole basics around AI and how it works?
Yeah.
GPT still asking who are yet to be knowledgeable around AI, the skill set around AI. So if we're going to say we're going to incorporate AI, aren't we leaving a chunk of people behind, or what should be done to ensure that we're not leaving anyone behind?
I'm happy you asked this question.
Yeah.
My chatbot is called the Era. Era of the machine.
Yeah.
So, and I have people who've lost jobs because of it. Actually, right now, where we seated here, it is at work. It is responding of problems that users of our systems have.
Yeah.
And most of them don't even know it is the chatbot that is answering.
Yeah.
So the rise of AI, you can compare it to the rise of, you know, literacy. When people started writing, there are people of writing or documenting, living documentation and everything. So people are going to lose jobs. Yes. But there is something that we don't have to forget. That now we are only limited to what we can ask. It's no longer like I've gone here, I've known this, I've known that. You are only limited to what you can ask. A software developer who doesn't know this language can ask the chatbot to translate to that language, and the result is the same thing. So we are not really, people need to evolve, they need to join what is happening. They need to understand that the old way of doing things have changed. It's the new way.
Interesting that you say that, because what I'm reading is that there could be some collateral damage along the way. But the overall goal is a good goal, that we are going to make work easier, solutions faster, easier for you to access certain things, do certain tasks real fast. That is what.
And we need to admire what the leaders of this country are doing, because Rwandans are not being really left behind. This infrastructure that has been built over the last 10 years, we really have to understand that we have to use it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because now Rwanda is at a level where we have a usage gap. It's no longer like people can't afford this and this and this. It's now, if I afford it, what do I do with it? If I have a mobile phone, what do I do with it? This phone that you have here, it has as much power as someone else in the USA. Why are they doing it and we are not doing it?
Let's demystify the myth, or put it into fact, if it is true, or the aspect of most of these solutions, AI solutions, are actually foreign owned. And so local developers are not getting the right space or more attention in terms of their developments being actually incorporated.
Yes.
And whatever you say shall be held against Alain.
It's true. Really, we have to understand that especially the innovation community, have to do their part. Because really, there are people.
What is their part?
Their part is, let's sit and work. Let's put in time.
They say they've been putting time, they've been working, but they're not taking our things. They say it's inferior. They go and take what the others have actually produced. They feel it's superior.
If I go back to government, and maybe what Alain should be responsible for, if you take a spoon of sugar and you put in this water, it all becomes sweet.
Yeah.
We need someone to actually say, we've managed, this person has been taken here, and everyone follow. So we need someone, an example, like something that is really big enough for people to trust. Because it's sad that developers are not using these tools, and we see them in Rwanda. It's not everywhere else.
Right. Alain, I think he has been so diplomatic. He's sugar-coated with the sugar he wants to put in the water. But talk to me about that particular thing. I know of people who've complained to me when we're doing our stories, talking to them, they feel, I think our innovations, we get demoralized. We work so hard. Or we ask so many things before we even get to the level where now they can be taken up even at a ministerial level or at a level of where you sit. What is being done to fix this?
So I think the issue is at the ecosystem level.
Yeah.
So there's so many moving parts for the ecosystem to work. And a lot of the success stories you're going to see is a lot of these innovations are coming from academia. So these are innovations that have had years and years of research. They have had funding due to different economies. These are innovations that have had opportunities for the private sector to adopt as buyers, as adopters of the early adopters of this technology. So our ecosystem is still at its nascent stage. And it seems that everybody is trying to do their own thing. But I think it's time that we have actually a platform through which now we can engage all stakeholders and speak the same language.
Tell me what you need to have that platform.
So we're actually working on something like that. So we're working on something called the AI Innovation Lab. But the more we talk about it and develop it, it seems that we don't want to limit to AI. So what this does, it has 3 phases of growth. Through which we take problem statements from industry, from public and private sector, and match them with solutions from the innovators. One example I would give you is we're working on an IVR platform for agriculture that will help farmers get information, get early warnings, get pretty much interact with the system in a way that you would interact with an agriculture specialist. And what how this idea came about was that we had farmers complain, hey, we have all this information that we need to understand. We have a hotline that we keep on calling and nobody's picking up. Is there a way we can leverage technology to actually come up with a solution? So we took that problem statement and then partnered it with a solution provider through which now we're going to see something happening. So once we're going to that first stage of identifying this problem statement and matching it to the solution, then we create MVP. So what's the minimum viable product you can put together in the shortest time? And if it makes sense more economically and socially, and then it gets to get the way to the second phase. And this is where we build a business around it. Right. Here we partner you with investors. We give you the money that's needed.
This is already happening.
we're going to start it actually. So before the end of, I would say, next month.
I was looking for that.
Yes. So we should see something coming out of it.
Right.
So once we help you build the business, understand the logic, understand the needs, and prepared you, then we move you to the third stage, which is the growth stage. And then on towards the growth stage, you're looking at how profitable your company is. Yeah. Is it providing the solution that the people need on the market? Yeah. And can we scale it to the level that it goes beyond Rwanda? This is a practice that we've seen in many places. We've benchmarked it in places like Israel, in places like the United States that are really advancing some of these emerging technology agendas. And we thought, why not have an ecosystem through which people not just innovating, but they're innovating because they are solving a problem. Yeah. Because when you solve a problem, it's almost automatic that the client is going to be there. The client can be private sector, the client can be the government itself, and also putting in policies in place that enable that to happen. And maybe to highlight also, we have a new procurement guideline that's going to come into effect soon that actually puts in Rwanda innovators first. And what this means is if you have an innovator like him that has, say, store management system, instead of, say, the minute you're going to procure something from outside, why don't we first test what he has, see that it makes sense to our demand, and then get into some sort of contract. And that way, we're giving them an opportunity, but we're also giving them an opportunity to innovate through real-world problems. Right. So just to highlight, those are the few things I think we're working on that would benefit the ecosystem. But again, there's so many moving parts. So what we're trying to do is how to bring all those things together. Right.
I mean, that's a sigh of relief. It's a sign. It's a step in the right direction. And just if it is fully implemented, is just something else that we'll have to wait and see. Dr. Shivon, I want to ask you this on the area of creating a seamless user experience, because some of us will come up with products, but then it is also not even fixing. I'm not feeling a seamless user experience. I'm not really liking it. But from where you sit, you're feeling like this is actually a product we've come up with to support in one or another. Tell me a bit about how that is a significant thing from an AI perspective, and also from you where you sit at Babylon.
I think that for companies like mine, or I'll speak about my company, sorry, the patient is at the center of everything that you do. And I think he said something like, if you're solving a need of a client, that client will come, And so providing a seamless service, because one of the things, why do people not seek care when they need care? They are busy lifing, they're busy with their life, they're busy with their economic activities, and then unless it's really, 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 and then they'll go to a pharmacy and take a paracetamol and stuff like that. Yeah. So what we provide is a convenient service, easy and convenient. So if sitting here in the studio, you literally are not feeling well, and you need to seek, and you want to be treated, using your phone, you could just seek for an appointment. In the next 10 minutes or so, speak to a clinician who is able to treat you from the condition you're suffering from, and ultimately you can go to a pharmacy and get your prescription or laboratory test just from an SMS that you get. Seamless, easy, convenient for you. In terms of AI, so that is even without the AI. So what we're testing now in our health centers is AI, the triage AI that we have in our health centers. In time, that's going to come to your mobile phone. So if I'm not feeling well, again, same story, I'm not feeling well, I sit here with my phone, put in my symptoms, talk to this machine, and that will ultimately tell me, predict this is potentially what you're suffering from. So when you then decide, okay, I need actually to have an appointment, then one, you're equipped with the information. These days, the doctor is not the one who has your life in your hands. You have to have a stake in your life.
Correct.
So when your doctor says this, how about this? I'm going to do what you're doing. Can we also test this? Can we also try this? And that provides the seamlessness that you need. for the service
I
that
hear
you
you.
need. Yeah.
We need to start taking our closing remarks, but I can't leave this studio without asking this, especially on the aspect of misinformation, disinformation we talked about earlier on, and most importantly is the aspect of the human, connection. And I can see even there's a viewer who's also even spoken about that. We will still need the human connection that AI cannot replace, for now at least. And probably Jean will come, and then we can all put our voices on the same. How do we ensure that this still remains, and what happens to those who are actually happy to see a nurse face to face, talk to them, meet a client, the chatbot thing, come, nakuvugisha, tukavugana, nakubona maso kumaso, we talk face to face. What happens in that case?
That's a big problem. It's a big problem, but again, there is also this side of where someone really get to hustle to get to a service that they need. Because we need to understand that this is not a friendship that we are creating with these machines. These machines are working for us. And we need to understand that we have to present the right interface for the people to like them. It is our job. I'm actually calling every innovator out there to perhaps maybe form a campus. Create something that is happening together, so that no one is left behind. We create the right interface for everyone to join and to be happy about.
I might not come back to you. I'll ask you to tell me in closing the future of the digital age. What do you think will form it? Just under 30 seconds.
Okay. First of all, this is inevitable. It is here. And we are not going to live without it, because lots of people are in it now. I am in it. So if we don't work with it, it will work against us.
Okay, Dr. Siobhan, the future, but of course the human. Yes, interaction.
So the human interaction does not go away, and I'll give an example of the work that we do. So even when you have the AI that does the symptom checking, at the end of it you book an appointment, and you still you'll still talk to the doctor digitally, but you have a choice to also see a doctor physically if you want. What it does, it equips you with the relevant information. Take this for a moment. 2/3 of what we now know in medicine was discovered in the last 5 years. 2/3 of what is known in medicine today was discovered in the last 5 years. Think about your doctor when he takes, first of all, 5 years or more to get his medical degree, and to make the doctor that you'd go to, it takes much longer than that. So that doctor has AI that supports him to get the cutting edge information from this big doctor brain that supports him to support you. That's very important. And when you have that interaction. The second question you asked is that, what do I see? What is the future?
Yes.
Just like we look at the Industrial Revolution, where we can't even imagine life without the Industrial Revolution. We can't imagine a world without the internet. We are going to a place where we can't imagine a world without AI. And I think that we have to embrace it. It is here, and we have to embrace it. We have to work with it and make sure that we work within the relevant guidelines. Okay,
interesting. Alain, and I'm happy that you mentioned all those things, Dr. Siobhan, because I'm sure, and I'll pass this as Alain closes off also with his closing remarks, is the aspect of the cheating that we have already started seeing or fearing. And the killing of creativity. We know of people who use certain AI products to be able to do graphic designing. And you find an employer who says, I want to see your work. How do we marry the two, where you want the employer to embrace AI and see it as a good thing, that even your employee knows how to use it, but then also avoid the shortcuts. ChatGPT, right now people are even doing, all manner of things. In 30 seconds, 10 seconds, they already have the assignment done.
Yes.
Yeah, I think maybe to echo what my fellow participants have mentioned, AI should be looked as a tool, a tool that augments human capabilities. In the context of healthcare, she mentioned partnering these AI tools with practitioners. What does that mean? It gives them superhero powers, if I'd call them, that they can do more things efficiently, and also lead to the improvement of the quality of the service they're providing. So AI is a tool to augment your capabilities. It doesn't replace you. It shouldn't replace you, which is what a lot of the ethical principles really try to define. But it should give you the ability to become innovative. It should give you the ability to become more efficient, to become more productive. One thing that people are scared of is, as people interact with these systems, it's almost that there's no time for human interaction. But I don't believe so. I think what AI is going to do at the end of the day is going to give us more free time. So in that free time, how we're going to use it, I think, is something that we're going to have to wait and see. To wait and see what that free time means as we interact with these technologies. But again, it gives us an opportunity to do other things that we would have done in that free time. So looking ahead into the future, just like any other general purpose technology, AI is set to be one of those things like electricity. It's going to be everywhere and nowhere. It's going to be part of our daily lives. It's going to be part of the tools we use.
So we cannot run away from it.
We cannot run away from it. So with the ChatGPT situation you talked about, I feel like, again, it comes back to the norms, how we understand the world as it is. But for the creative industry, this is an opportunity to produce content in the shortest time period. If it took you, say, 10 days to compose a song, now you can use tools that can help you put instruments together, can help you put the notes together, can write the lyrics, and what you have to do at the end of the day is edit and fine-tune it
to your liking. Too long to close.
Okay, so, but yeah, I just want to say it's inevitable. It's inevitable. This is the future where we're going to. But we're glad that we have an AI policy that's in place that's guiding us. Maybe just to close.
Under 10 seconds.
Just to read out the mission of the AI policy is to leverage AI to power economic growth, improve quality of life, and position Rwanda as a global, innovative, and responsible hub for AI.
Perfect. I'm sure now they say he has actually delivered the assignment on the show. Right, I want us to close off, but I'll just read real quick. Peter Mwaura on YouTube says the hesitation to adopt this technology is of the fear of the unknown. Thank you so much, Peter. You've been very, very vocal on the YouTube channel. Freddie Nwari says, I say yes, but you must have policymakers who can get in time to to work out the disasters before waiting for them. And I hear Peter Mwaura says, Dr. Shivon is all in on AI. Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you so much for making time to watch us. Dolapo had actually mentioned the godfather of AI said that I've come to the conclusion that the kind of intelligence we are developing is very different from the intelligence we have. So actually it might overpower or take over.
Yes.
Probably now the revelations are actually very good. I'm sure some people are looking at it from that perspective. Listen, it's time for me to close. And of course, I want to say thank you to all our panelists who've been here. And remember, wall-to-wall coverage of the disasters that have been led by the flooding is continuing right here on the show. So stay on standby. The news in English is coming up. And of course, you want to hear the updates on that. My name, as always, is Eugene. And I want to say goodbye for now.